So you guys, first of all, welcome back and a happy anniversary. It was 4 years ago yesterday that they released the first album, the Lumineers. It was April 3rd, 2012, I believe. And what a long, strange trip it's been probably since then. Let's go back to the beginning just a little bit. Wesley and Jeremiah, congrats. You guys started this out of a deeply rooted friendship, and here you are years later. But let's revisit the two prior incarnations of the Lumineers, which was it Jeremiah Wesley?
No, Wesley Jeremiah.
Wesley Jeremiah, and then what was the other one?
There was Six Cheek at one point.
Okay.
Which was three guys, and Six Cheek was the name. Free Beer was one.
Yeah.
Free beer was. Let me ask you, free beer is kind of brilliant because let's say you're playing at a venue and you write free beer on the marquee.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed to get people in. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it worked half the time, I think.
It worked half the time. So what was your songwriting style back in the day?
It was angsty. It was very, growing up in the 90s, I think it was very angsty and alt-rocky.
So nothing like this.
Uber complicated. And
No
every
major
song-
chords, yeah.
Okay, and then Neela, what was your life, what exactly were you doing before these guys were even a thought in your mind?
I had just finished school. I was studying to be a music teacher, and I was just looking for a job, anything to keep me busy. I just moved back in with my parents and saw a Craigslist ad for a cello player that I
What
answered.
did the Craigslist ad say exactly? Do you remember?
Said, I mean, you probably know better, but something along the lines of a band had just moved to Denver looking for a cello
They
player.
just cut their hair off, living with their parents.
I fit the bill.
Yeah.
Basically to play local gigs, and I didn't really anticipate this becoming my profession.
How did they convince you to kind of just leave the comfort of your parents' home and just set out with these two crazy guys on the road and try to make this something?
I didn't think it took much convincing.
Minivan?
Yeah, it was just fun. I don't know.
A smelly minivan, probably?
Yeah, very enticing.
So you guys, you're sons of Brooklyn, but you're now, Denver is your second home. What was it about that place that embraced you and kind of helped you grow as the Lumineers?
Well, New Jersey never gets love. We're actually sons of New Jersey. Any
Sons of New Jersey.
out there. Yeah. I can see there's a lot of New Jersey love out there. See what I mean?
Yeah.
I lived in Brooklyn for a little bit, though. But what was I missed the last
No,
thing.
what was it about Denver that helped you guys kind of create the sound, and what is it about that place that welcomed you like home? You feel pretty much at home in Denver, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, when we went there, we actually had a lot of material kind of written. We found a really great community there. Like our piano player, Stealth, he was one of the first people to sort of give us some inside information. We started touring the West Coast based on him sharing that with us. You know, he was in other bands and wasn't afraid to let other people around him do big things. And like, it was just a very unselfish community. Everybody supported each other. So kind of different from New York. It was a little more dog eat dog there.
Yeah.
You know, get out of my way.
Scary there.
Yeah, we settled in quick because the people were welcoming.
So let's talk about Ho Hey, and that kind of just took on a life of itself. And I imagine it's a curse and a blessing to have a song that becomes that large. It's its own galaxy. Am I right in saying it's a curse and a blessing?
No, I think it's personally, I would think it's a blessing because it's people kind of talk about us as if the last 4 years was some sort of tragic event that happened. And, we've been able to quit our side jobs, so that's definitely a blessing to not be a busboy anymore and to do what we love for a living.
Check
so
for blessing.
it's been. I understand the question, but I think it's been a really huge. It kind of gave us the keys to unlock a lot of doors in this world. So we're super grateful for the song and still love it.
How do you guys measure success? Because you've done SNL, you've got Grammy nominations, you've had songs in Hunger Games, The Walking Dead, you've toured the world, played incredible epic venues. What was like the one point that each of you were like, all right, made it, or your bucket list checklist?
This sounds stupid, but the local public library in New Jersey where I grew up, our CD was taken out like a lot of times. It was on, permanently sort of taken out. So out of all the things that have happened, that's probably not the coolest thing.
That's awesome.
But for me, that was a big deal. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What about for you two?
It's a little more big league. Barack Obama put us on a playlist. That was
Okay,
pretty,
that's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. Neela?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there was so much kind of at once. I guess Saturday Night Live was a peak for us.
It is.
That was
That's
really
a big one.
neat. And Jennifer Lawrence was the host too. So
Oh, that's
Yes.
awesome. Okay, that's great. So let's get to Cleopatra, which is absolutely beautiful. It's got the same seasonings that we love of the Lumineers, but a different flavor. So first, let's talk about the cover art, because that woman actually played Cleopatra.
Yeah, Theda Bara is her name. So
She's the OG.
It's 1917, so it was kind of hard to track down that original photo. And then the film itself burned up in a fire called the Fox Studios fire. So only like 30 seconds of it remain. So it's kind of this mysterious film, and her gaze is arresting. That's the best way to describe it. So I think it fit the song and then the album, cover. It just kind of stopped me in my tracks.
I don't know what it is about Cleopatra. I've listened to it since the day it came out. It was 2 weeks ago it came out, and I've listened to it over and over. And I could tell it's a love story, and it breaks my heart, but I can't stop listening to it. Is there a story underneath that song?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories off the album. It's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it brief.
Go for it.
So it's the first. Imagine, so there's this lady in the Republic of Georgia that I had heard about, like next to Russia, so very far away, and she's the first female taxi driver in all the country, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then they go into her early life, and how did she become this like hardened woman? She'd pick you up with like a beer between her legs and like a cigarette in her mouth. She was like a hardened, badass kind of woman.
And a scary cab driver.
Yeah, it's not the greatest like Uber driver for our standards, but anyway, when she was young, she was in love, but then her father passes away. She's about 16, and her boyfriend proposes to her, and she doesn't say anything back. She's so kind of reeling from the death of her father, and he leaves, and he tracks out this mud, and she never sees him again. He feels so rejected, he leaves town, and that was her great love. And then she refused to wash the mud off of the carpet to hold on to his memory. So I heard that, and I thought, there's a really special, song in there. And then I eventually got to meet her, and so it's kind of I think that's why we made it the title track. It follows her along a long period of time.
What was meeting her like? Did she still have kind of like that sadness behind her eyes?
She's tough.
She's tough, still
So
like chain smoking.
She gave me
beer?
a hug, and someone was translating for her. She said, I've had a hard life. She said, the two best days of my life were when I got my divorce and when I had my kid.
Oh.
And I was like, oh. And so we put that in the song. So it's like, so we put that in the song, the only gifts from my Lord were a birth and a divorce, as a shout out to that, to her saying that, because I was like, that is heavy. So.
You guys, it's a beautiful song. I wanted to ask you something. I read a quote, and sometimes, you can't believe everything you read, but it was really cool. It said that you had seen Tom Petty, and he was performing Mary Jane's Last Dance, classic, and during that song, he had a box, and he opened the box, and he took off the hat, and he wore it during the song, and at the end of the song, he put the hat away, and from the quote that I read, you said something like, I learned everything I needed to know that day.
Yeah.
What was it that captured your attention from that one moment that you saw him?
Well, I didn't learn from like David Lee Roth doing like backflips off of like amps. I'm more subtle than that. And when I saw his show, I was a kid at an amphitheater, and it was just like this showmanship. It reminded me of when they opened the trunk in Pulp Fiction and it glows. Yeah. He grabbed his hat out of there. There's nothing. It didn't even make any sense, but I was like, that is cool. What's going on there? And I think we started to realize in our own shows we wanted to do something non-musical. Something that. So we would often jump out in the crowd and play among the people without any microphones, because we realized we could play beautiful or perfect, and people don't walk away from shows going, it was a great show, they played perfect. That's not interesting, but we would come out and turn off cell phones and no microphones, and people were moved by just real music, like we had started off in living rooms with no amplification, and that was startling to people, because I think we've moved away from people kind of actually playing their instruments. So it caught people off guard in a funny way.
There was one performance years ago when the first album came out. I think it was the Wiltern, I don't know, one of the smaller venues. You guys got off stage, and you were in the walls. Do you remember?
Yeah,
you were like
the Fonda.
Yeah, it was the Fonda. You were playing in the walls, and nobody knew where you went. They just left stage, and all of a sudden, you look up, and they're like.
It was a balcony. It wasn't like in the wall. You could see us. We're just like, let me out.
Hanging from the rafters. No, yeah, but they were, I had a few beers, so they looked like they were in the wall.
They're in the wall. Yeah, they had to help us up, I remember, because there was no staircase.
Incredible.
Someone just boosted us up.
But see, those are the kind of things that you remember from a show. That one really stood out. Jeremiah, Jeremiah, what's your two favorite songs on this new album?
Probably the last two, My Eyes and Patience.
Okay, any particular reason why?
I just think they're really cool. I think that there are two songs that show the growth of this band, and they wouldn't have made it to the first record for whatever reason, but I'm really proud that they kind of end this beautiful record that way.
Okay, cool. Mila?
I'm prone to Cleopatra, which we already discussed. And then Gun Song is an older song that's kind of had some new life breathed into it.
Really?
And I think that was one of the first ones we actually worked on as a trio when I first met them, and then it just didn't quite fit with the first record. And it's been so fun live and just kind of has this new life to it.
Well, the record comes out on Friday. It's called Cleopatra. I've already heard it. It's beautiful. And then in October, they play the legendary Hollywood Bowl. I believe it's your first time at the Hollywood Bowl, correct?
Yes.
It's pretty magical, so I highly recommend you guys check that show out. A big, big thank you to you guys and continued success, because we really love you around here.
We were there yesterday, actually. There was a guy, we checked out the Hollywood Bowl, and there was a guy singing Creed with his headphones
Seriously?
on.
Yeah, just
Belting
all
it
out,
as we
like
were looking
full
at
on.
him. Well, I just heard. It's just like the whole stadium to himself. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to leave it right on that note, on Creed. So you're either going to want to go home and listen to Creed or the Lumineers. I hope it's the latter. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lumineers.
Thank you.
And thank you guys, and thank Red Bull TV. Now you can go back to work or school or wherever you came from. Thank you so much.